Deputy Pinel.
Thank you, sir. It is with, like others, enormous concern that I stand today. There's always been doubt as to what this time-consuming and expensive inquiry will ultimately achieve. This was weighed against the need to disprove any notions of cover-ups and to permit every victim of abuse to have the opportunity to tell their story and, in some instances, be awarded compensation. The original state's decision in 2012 was for a budget of £6 million for an inquiry due to be completed within 1 year. It is appreciated that budgeting is not an exact science, and we cannot predict the number of witnesses, records, and statements that need to be examined. This does not justify, however, basing the structure of the inquiry on a UK model which may not be proportionate for a small jurisdiction. In October 2014, the forecast cost was revised to £7.8 million, followed in November 2014, a month later, with a further revision to £8.8 million due to increasing legal costs to manage the document redaction and review process. In December 2014, a month later, the inquiry advised that it should conclude by July 2016, by which time the cost would be £11.3 million. Last month, both costs and timeframe had changed to an estimated £13.7 million for completion in October 2016. Whilst this information is documented in the report and proposition, I felt it important to remind members and the public of the extremely rapid increase in expenditure over a very short time. Where will it stop? With the final report now expected to be completed by December 2016, there remains 20 months. Departments across the states will have to make savings and cut costs to a previously unparalleled degree over the 4 years of the next medium-term financial plan. My Department of Social Security has been asked for review and produce options for savings and cost cuts in the order of up to £18 million over the same medium-term financial plan timeframe. This will necessarily have an enormous impact on many vulnerable people. Income support expenditure is over £75 million per annum, so £18 million represents a very significant cut to the entire weekly income support budget. These are benefits that are supporting the elderly, the disabled, and the children that need our help today. This is in addition to the 2% savings every department has to produce, which for Social Security is another £1.5 million per annum. To realise this level of savings is going to be extremely difficult. I cannot reconcile the massive cuts to a Social Security budget with agreeing to an additional £14 million on top of the already agreed and spent £6 million and the £3 million spent by states departments. Therefore, the estimated expenditure so far is some £23 million. The proposition states that if further money is required after this additional £14 million, which in the view of many is very likely, the states will once again be asked to consider voting another lump of sum for the inquiry to continue. As mentioned earlier, the final compensation total for the victims was £1.9 million, so the remainder of the growing expenses is mainly the legal fees. I voted for the inquiry to be set up, but I, along with others, had not envisaged that there would be no cap on whatever costs were incurred, and with little or no financial controls over these costs. How can we justify what is essentially an open-ended agreement in very difficult economic circumstances? It is perhaps relevant to compare the £1.9 million paid in compensation to victims with the currently estimated £23 million to be paid mainly to lawyers to conduct the inquiry so far. I do not believe these additional are proportionate compensation paid or the likely outcome of the inquiry. I am greatly concerned that costs will continue to rise exponentially, which will have a disproportionate knock-on effect on funds available for other states' responsibilities. I have been involved with a charity that supports vulnerable children for many years. It is right that the state is held accountable for the treatment of children of Jersey in the past. It is right that victims must be heard and helped to rebuild their lives. It is right that we must learn from our mistakes and keep children in our care safe. But I no longer believe that the money being spent on the lawyers in this inquiry is the best way to achieve these aims. I find it difficult to support this proposition without there being proper financial controls in place and a budget proportional to the likely outcomes. Thank you, sir.